Hi, my name is Kim. Thank you very much for inspirational speech. As you mentioned, actually all things should be equal, but in reality there are actually a lot of inequalities and injustice around the world. Sometimes people want to make a change or to help, but they would always have a mentality that actually the existence of an individual is so small, and the impact that they can bring to the world is actually so small, and they ended up doing nothing to help or to make a change. So from your perspective, what should be the right attitude or mentality for those people who really want to help to make a change to these inequalities and injustices?
Thank you. It's beautiful. In the world we live today, we are very much almost indoctrinated to value quantity over quality. Yes? You know, how big, how much. But the heart actually values quality, not necessarily quantity. There's a simple analogy, and then I will explain it. In the Ramayana, one of the great scriptures of India, there was a bridge being built across the ocean with rocks. And Hanuman, who was an extremely powerful, incredible warrior, who had such deep love for God, or Ram, he was bringing gigantic rocks from the mountains that weighed tons to build the ocean. And his beloved Lord, Ram, who was an avatar who was walking behind him, happened to see Hanuman stop because there was a little squirrel. And the squirrel jumped in the water, then rolled around in sand, and then went, just shook his body and made the little grains of sand go on the bridge. And Hanuman didn't want to step on the squirrel. And, well, he's holy, so he told the squirrel, please move. And Ram said, that squirrel is doing as much as you. Because you're doing your capacity to help. And that little squirrel is doing his capacity to help, or her capacity. I don't really know whether it was a boy or girl squirrel. But suppose it was a girl. She's doing her capacity. So for me, it's equal. I don't see the result, I see the intent. And many of the greatest things that happen in the world begin really small. But if we just think, I'm so small, I can't make a difference, then we won't make a difference. But if we can even help one person in our life, that is a tremendous accomplishment. That's greater than winning the World Cup or being a world champion. If you can help one person in this world, that's a great thing. What to speak of 2 or 3 or 1,000,000. The quality is really important. And we could all make a difference, big or small. There's a house just about a 10-minute drive from here when there's no traffic. And I go there sometimes to give talks. It's a very old house. It's a beautiful mansion. And there's a living room in this house. And the living room is exactly as it was in the 1940s. The same carpet, the same sofas and chairs, the same coverings on the sofas and chairs, and everything is exactly in the same place it was in the 1940s. Because what happened there is that's where Mahatma Gandhi and Sardarji Patel and Nehru and a few others, There were just about 5 of them. They would meet in that house to discuss liberating India from the British rule. None of them had any money, hardly anything. None of them had armies. It was just a few people with common thoughts. And that's where they decided to establish this cause called Quit India. At that time, it is said the British Empire, the sun never set. The United Kingdom ruled over India for almost 2 centuries. And a few people just discussed with themselves, let's get the British out. And they did. That's where it began. Then they started spreading the word. But at the beginning, as soon as they started spreading the word, they were put in jail. But they didn't give up. So many of the greatest things that have happened in world history start with little people. Yes, in America, Thomas Edison. So much of the concept of electricity and lighting, in a little place, I think in Ohio or New Jersey or something like that. He was just his little laboratory all alone, and all of his experiments kept failing. And one journalist asked him, you failed in this experiment 800 times. Don't you get discouraged? He said, no. Every time I fail, I get encouraged. Because now I know 800 ways it doesn't work. That means I'm closer to figuring out how it does work. He was just sitting in his little laboratory. But he had a purpose. And he believed in it. And now, see how it has affected the planet. So big things often start with little people in little ways. And it really isn't, what's important is not so much the result, but it's our purpose, our cause. And even if we could just do a little something for just a few people, in God's eyes, and in the soul, in our own conscious eyes, that is a gigantic accomplishment. And if we could do something with great quantity, same thing. Every single one of us can make an incredibly beautiful difference in the world we live. And that's what gives the life meaning. When we see so much terrorism and so much hatred and so much greed and so much, earthquakes and volcanoes and droughts and so many problems in the world, sometimes we think, what am I going to do? But we can do something incredible and unbelievable. Just by making that inner connection and making the right choices to make a positive difference. And when a few of us come together to share that, like they did in that little house or that big house I was telling you about, then wonderful things really can happen. So failing in life is when we don't see that potential. And real success in life is not the quantity, but what we live for.